What's up, guys? If you watched our last video, you heard me say that over the next couple of videos, I was going to be doing something I had never done before. So this is part 2 of me having no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to do it anyway. Alrighty guys, so right here we've got a lot of the door panel pieces and stuff for our square body. We're missing one because everybody's closed and we haven't had a chance to go and get the other door panel, but that's fine. These are the pieces that pretty much go around your door handles as well as your window switches and things like that, and these are the little trim pieces that go on there. So this stuff is pretty hard to come by, and I really don't care to have it reupholstered because I honestly don't like that a whole lot. You know what I'm saying?
And if we're not going to have it reupholstered, what are we doing with it?
Well, somebody has probably already seen these bags, and they're like, what is that?
That is carbon, my friend.
Carbon, sir. This is chopped carbon. So, last video, y'all saw me do a little bit of fiberglass work. That was the first time. This is kind of the same principle, but this is also the first time I've ever done anything like this. So, I've watched a lot of guys on YouTube do it, so how hard can it be?
I mean, they also had some stuff that we don't have.
Yeah, you're right.
But, I mean, we're going to do what we can with what we have.
We are. So, the game plan is to go ahead and rip these completely apart because they're hard plastic. So, we're going to be skinning these parts with carbon fiber. So, it's going to have that forged carbon look rather than the weave. So, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've never done anything like this before. I've never seen anything like this before in a square body, so why not?
Yeah, and you know what the best part about the carbon is? Is we're, keeping the theme. This right here.
Dude, this is like a foil stuff, and let me tell you, I opened it to look at it. It gets everywhere.
Not only that, I mean, you hold that, it feels like there's nothing in it.
It's so light, like, I feel like I could just like blow on it and it'd go across. But anyway, it's there's nothing to it. So, from what I've watched, a lot of guys, they pretty much just prep these parts basically for like I would a body panel. So they do body work and all of that. Obviously, you have to have a solid base color. So we'll be spray painting these to get a black base and then putting the forged carbon over the top. We've got our epoxy resin, which is the A part and B part. So, I mean, it's got to be pretty much the same as fiberglass as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I have no idea.
I don't either.
I mean, we're going to figure this out together.
We're going to figure it out. This is going to be a first, and I'm hoping it turns out, but if it don't, well, it just don't, I guess. But anyway, we're going to get to work. I got to go ahead and get these core apart, and we got to get some body work done on them, and we'll just go from there. So we'll kind of talk about it, I guess, as we go.
Oh, Boudreaux, this stuff stinks.
The glue does. I don't know what they glued this with, but it does stink. It smells absolutely terrible.
Dude, it smells awful.
So anyway, you can see here what we got, and so pretty much what we've got to do with these, I'm not sure why those holes are there because there was nothing in this. It was just kind of hanging out. So we're going to fill those. We're going to fill this one as well as this right here. We'll go ahead and fill that up and that. So we want this to be pretty much perfectly smooth because this is going to be the base for our carbon, and we don't want to see all these little holes. So that's the whole point of this. We're trying to make it look new and not holy.
I mean, it could be holy.
Could be holy, I guess. But we don't want a bunch of holes, so we're gonna fill all of those in. So we're gonna be doing some plastic welding and all of that. We got a couple things that we're gonna cut some plastic out of to be able to fill that. And then once we get that filled, that's when we'll do body work over the top to get all of that perfect so we can shoot it with a coat of paint after we sand it smooth, obviously. And then we'll pretty much be ready to go ahead and do that first coat of epoxy and then let it tack, drop in some of our carbon and our purple flake. Pretty excited about this stuff, I'm not gonna lie. Drop in some of that, do another couple coats of epoxy, and then we'll just figure out what we gotta do after that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess in Coop's house fashion.
Coop's house fashion,
Let's
we about
wing
to
it.
figure it out.
freshly painted parts have now been scuffed again.
They have been scuffed again because I made a little bit of a mistake. I didn't like the way it looked after we painted it because it filled in like all the scratches, and I was honestly worried that the resin wouldn't stick. So scuffed them back up with the 80 grit, so we should be good now. Did do a little bit of research, and apparently you can tint this stuff with some acrylic paint. So we're basically just gonna tint the first coat of epoxy black and then do a solid coat on here because we have to put it on there anyway for the carbon to stick. So we'll mix it, and then it should give us a nice, even, solid color to put our carbon on over, and then we'll have to do another mix later once we actually apply the carbon and then put it over the top. So we should be good to go. This thing says that it's a 1-to-1 mix. I've never worked with this stuff. Epoxy resin, this is a first for me.
Yeah, everything we have been doing the past few weeks, y'all have known. It's the first time for everything for us.
First time for everything. So we're learning this stuff as we go. I'm really excited about this process because it is something I've wanted to try for a very, very long time, and I haven't. But the day has come. It's time for us to try it.
And not only that, we have to learn how to do this because we have an upcoming project that we are working with somebody eventually.
We do. We have actually been invited to be part of a SEMA build this year, so I've got to figure this out. You know
so we have to figure this out.
Gotta figure it out.
Because if anybody knows what SEMA is, I mean,
kind of a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal.
Coop's house name, Coop's house's name at SEMA would be kind of a big deal. So we got to get this figured out, and what better way to learn than on the truck that we have learned everything else on. So we may as well work on these interior panels, get them carbon fiber. So that being said, we're about to mix up some resin, get a coat on here, and start getting ready to apply some carbon. Moment of truth.
We had to mix all three of our things in this one bag.
We've got 3 different sizes of carbon in here. I think there's some 1/2 inch, there's some 1 inch wide and some 1 inch narrow. So this ought to be a very random pattern, and I'm pretty excited about it. But this stuff, honestly, this stuff tacked up a lot faster than we thought it would. So the stuff that was in the cup is already hardened. So it's time for us to go ahead and put this junk on. So we're basically just gonna take it, just sprinkle it on there. That's not pretty at all. That's
not at all.
Terrible.
Brother, it looks like we just threw a bunch of carbon on the table and just called it good.
I have a second thoughts. I don't know about this.
This, like the video that we watched, it really did look terrible at first. And then I was like, okay, it's probably one of these trusted process things. And it was. So maybe, just maybe, this is one of those times.
I hope it turns out better than it looks right now. Because right now,
it looks like a pile of mumbo jumbo mess, dude.
Yeah, it's not great. So, I don't know. I think what we're going to do, because this resin, I don't want to like mess around with it too much because the resin's still wet. And I don't want to pull the carbon off. So I think what we're going to do is let it sit for a couple of hours. And then in a couple of hours, we'll come in here. We'll try to get the excess off, like brush it off, whatever we got to do. I'm going to go watch that guy's video again. And then we'll come back in after, after this has time to really harden and cure and stuff. And then we'll clean it off. And then just kind of see where we're at. I know we do have to put more resin over the top of it. And he did several coats of resin to get it to look good. So we'll see. But my confidence, it's not real confident right now.
It'd be scary.
It do be a little bit. But anyway, yep. I guess we'll kind of chill out for a couple hours and then do that. everything's sticking. We've just got a ton of excess.
A ton.
A ton. So, it doesn't look bad once you shake some of it off. I mean, it still looks like an absolute hot mess, but what we're hoping is that once we resin over it, it'll look okay. So, I don't know. There's still a whole lot of what ifs and possible variables and all of that. So
This is scary.
this is a little nerve-wracking. I can't lie to you. I can't pretend that I'm not nervous.
Hard.
Hardened. So you can see right there, I'm taking off quite a bit of excess, but
Yeah.
everything is pretty much sticking. So I think once we resin it, I mean, because it's going to get a lot of resin over the top, and I think once we resin it, then it'll look okay. I hope. So I guess that's what we're going to finish just shaking these off, and then we're going to just send it with some resin because there's nothing else to do. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
We about to send it.
We're about to send it. Worst case scenario, if it don't turn out, we sand it down and we paint over it. So
I think we'll be all right.
I think we'll be okay. So anyway, that one actually looks pretty decent. Anyways, we got to mix up some resin after we clean all this up, and we'll see how it actually looks.
Well, you know, we did all this and forgot about the foil.
We did, but I kind of wanted to wait anyway because I want to do it a little more random. But yet again, here's something I have no idea what I'm doing. But check that out.
Yeah, so if y'all know anything, like if y'all seen the videos like the gold foil that people mess with, it's essentially the same thing. Just
Yeah,
it's like a little shredded.
Except it's purple.
Yeah, it's purple and it's shredded.
So I'm just gonna take some little bits and pieces of it and just kind of poke it in here and there and hope that this is how you're supposed to do it, because like I said, I don't know. I've never done it. This is a first for me.
They still don't look pretty.
Not at all. And I'm thinking I'm figuring out this is probably definitely one of those trust the process things. You know what I mean? Because it looks better now than it did before resin, but now it just looks ugly and resined.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it. Just look at it.
Yeah.
I mean that one looks okay.
Yeah, you kind of get a little bit of that effect, but we're not done. You don't leave it like this. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this little bit of material. So I guess when you do like fiberglass work and stuff like that, you do something called peel ply, but there's an alternative, which is just a polyester underlayment, which you would use like ladies use if they're making blankets or something like that. So anyway, went and bought some of that. So what I do next is I pretty much cut this to size, put it on there, take my little roller right here and try to roll everything as smooth as possible. And then once I do that, we'll take a piece of fleece and put it over the top of it, and then we're gonna put it in our little handy dandy vacuum seal bags. And then we'll put them in there and we'll take the vacuum, we'll suck all the air out of it, and it's gonna pull everything down tight. And so what it's supposed to do is pull all of the air out of this and make sure everything's nice and pretty much flat. It's not gonna be perfectly flat, but it'll be pretty much flat. And then once it dries after that, we'll sand everything smooth, and then we'll do some more coats of the resin over the top of that, and then let it sit and dry. And then after that, we'll kind of assess where we're at. We'll either sand it and clear coat it, or we'll do another coat of resin and then sand and clear coat it. But it's a long, absolutely drawn out process.
Yeah, well, we thought it was going to take about maybe 2 days.
It's going to take about a week.
It's going to take a little less than a week.
Yeah, so it is what it is. This is something that we wanted to try for a very long time that we weren't sure about. So again, you know, like I said at the beginning of the video, over the next couple of videos, y'all were going to see some things I had never done before, and we were going to pretty much be figuring it out as we go. And this is one of those things. So that being said, we're about to cut some of this up. We're going to roll this out, and then here in just a few minutes, we'll have it in these bags, and we'll kind of see how things are looking. Alrighty guys, so it is the next day here, and I have some not so great news about our carbon fiber attempt. I got out here this morning, went ahead and unbagged a couple of the parts, started pulling it off, and things didn't turn out quite like I'd hoped. So I'm going to show you guys kind of where we're at and let you know what the game plan is. So there's the bag that I undid, and I pulled the little piece out that was in there. You can see right here, I don't have any carbon really left on this, and it's all right there on our so-called peel ply. Turns out the internet man lied to me. For some reason, all of this just did not want to let go. I'm not sure why. I don't know what caused that. I'm partially wondering if it's because I wrapped the edges whenever I put it under there. So I've still got a few more parts in the bags and everything that I have to pull out. So I'm going to pull those out and just kind of figure out where we're at with those, and hope that they turn out a little bit better, and then maybe I only have to redo the one part. But if not, no big deal. This is a learning process. We're gonna make this happen. It's gonna work out. I have a couple other parts that I still have to do later on anyway that I have to go and get. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna get it knocked out. It's gonna happen. So let's go ahead and unbag these other parts, peel those, and hope for the best. Well, guys, none of these parts worked out. And as a matter of fact, pulling all that off, I broke that one. But I was thinking about it, I think I'll plastic weld that one. So I may also be able to use the one that I had that was broke. So maybe we can make that work. But doing a little research, you can see right here, this was supposed to be on my peel ply and my breather fabric. So doing a little bit of research, I found that apparently peel ply can be really hard to remove if you go a little too heavy with the resin during your initial layup. So that could be what happened, because like I said, I've never worked with this stuff before, so I was thinking, you know, I had to get it really wet. I had to cover all of the carbon and all of that before layup, but I may have gone a little bit heavy, and you can see right here, if you look at these parts, it looks like it's soaked through the breather coat as well as that peel ply coat. So I may have gone a little heavy with the resin. No big deal. This was a trial and error thing. This is something we were trying to figure out. So I'm going to go back to square one. I'm going to sand everything back down, prep it just like I did originally. We're going to make another trip to Walmart and see if we can get some more of this material, because I really want this vacuum method to work, because it seems to give you a better product than if you just lay it up and then try to roll it out. If we can't find it at Walmart, that's the way we're going to go. But I'm going to make a trip back to town. I'm going to try to get this material. We're going to start over, and I will update you guys. I'm not going to make y'all watch this whole process again, but I'll update you guys just as soon as we get through this. We're going to see how this turns out, and hopefully it turns out much better this time. We'll just have to find out after we do this. So we're going to make a trip to town. We'll lay up some more carbon. All right, guys, so a little bit better news. These parts came out much better the second go around than they did the first time. So basically we're gonna take the Dremel, clean up these edges. You can tell right there, those look a little bit gross. We don't want that. So what we're gonna do, we'll cut all that excess off, and then we're gonna take some tape and put on the back side so we can go ahead and put another coat of our epoxy resin over the top. And then once we do that, we ought to really start seeing that pretty carbon, like that carbon pattern under there. So it should start looking pretty dang good. So we're gonna go ahead and get to work on this. And here in a few minutes, we're gonna put on some epoxy and hope it looks better than it does now. We'll find out. Trial and error, baby. Alrighty guys, we got all this cleaned up as best we can. I do want to point out, this is a trial run. This is something we're trying to figure out kind of as we go. So if these don't turn out, we're just going to take everything back down or build on top of this, one or the other, and we're going to try it again. We're going to keep doing this till we get it right, because this is a look that I want in that truck, because I think that that's just going to make the interior, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Hunter doesn't feel good.
No, I'm actually kind of under the weather right now.
A little under the weather, but he's out here so we can get this done. But I've got some resin mixed up, got it heated with the heater because it's pretty cold out here. So we're just gonna cover these things good and wet. You can see we got the tape line right across there so it can kind of run over those edges and hopefully fill those in just a little bit. But like I said, if this don't work out, we'll just do it again. It's gonna get several coats, but we'll go through the whole process and at least try to figure out a few things before we call it. But time to spread some of this out. I'm hoping for the best. I'm a little less stressed now.
Yeah, I think I've been cured.
Cured.
No longer sick.
The power of awesome.
The power of poor man forged carbon.
Yeah. So honestly, I remember I said earlier in this video that it was going to be one of those trust the process things. I was a little worried going into putting in the second coat, but looking at that, I'm just going to have to trust the process because everything we do to it, it looks just a little bit better. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And don't mind the waviness. I mean, because we're going to put another coat on there and sand it down. So.
Yeah, so it's much straighter now. That's the second coat of epoxy. So it'll get a third coat of epoxy, which should finish this off. It'll build this up a little bit thicker, and then it'll get a full prep. So it'll get sanded with 320, and then 400, and then 600, and then it'll be shot with actual automotive clear coat. So it'll have like an actual clear coated finish rather than the epoxy. So this should be pretty much flawlessly flat by the time we're done with it. So it'll look a million times better than it does right now. But I'm just saying, it looks pretty good right now.
It does look pretty good.
Especially considering what we started with, all the troubles that we've had up to this point, and all of that. This being our first time, I'm pretty excited about our current, like what it looks like now. The current state of it, actually seeing this forged carbon in person, because it's one of the first times I've ever seen it in person, this stuff looks pretty wild.
It does. Especially now, like, it's just about halfway done.
Yeah, it's halfway done. And by the time we get all of this completed and put on those door panels and in the truck, dude, this is just going to be like the ultimate the ultimate touch to the interior of that
Oh
truck.
yeah,
You know what
it's
I mean?
going to tie,
kind of tie everything together.
Tie the headliner in, the gauges, the seats,
all of that. So, with that being said, it is like 29 degrees outside here in Florida. It's not supposed to get like this, but we're freezing to absolute death. So before we die of hypothermia or something else, we're going to let this sit tonight. We'll get back out here tomorrow. We'll hit this with a sand, put our third coat of epoxy on it. That way we are on our home stretch to actually getting it finished and getting it on the door panel. So we're going to go get some sleep. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay guys, so it's the next day. Unfortunately, our resin is not completely dry yet, but it is looking really, really good. It's pretty tacky. Well, I say tacky. It's dry. I can touch it, but if I leave my hand sitting on it for very long, it does stick. So it's not quite where we can sand it yet, but I am really, really happy with the way that it's turning out. The next step is going to be pretty much to let these cure all the way, and then they'll need to be sanded and then do a second coat, or a third coat rather, of epoxy, and go ahead and get that to where it is just absolutely covered, everything is addressed and all of that. But these look pretty good, so we're gonna let them sit for a little bit longer, but I don't wanna like waste the time that we have in the middle of it. So I think what I'm gonna do, we're gonna back out the Squarebody. We got a lot of stuff sitting in there, so I think we'll back it out, go ahead and clean out the inside. And we've got our seats that we have never put in the cab. So I think what we'll do is we'll set the seats in there, kind of find out where they sit or where they fit, and then see about how they're going to be mounted and all of that stuff, because they came out of a newer truck. I think the front seats came out of a 2015 Tahoe, and the rear seats came out of a 2013 Avalanche. So completely different, and we may have to fab up some brackets, but I want to see how that looks. So that's what I'm going to do now. Go ahead and back this joker out, get it cleaned out, and then we're going to see how these seats fit.
You know, you look like you're about 7 foot tall sitting in this thing, brother.
I don't think these are going to work.
No, we are definitely going to do something about this bracket on the seat itself.
Yeah, or we're just going to go pull one out of a Suburban and be done with it.
Oh, yeah, we could do that too.
I
I
hate
kind of
that,
like
though,
these
'cause
seats on it.
Because I was really looking forward to having like the modern style seat that'll match those front ones. So that kind of sucks, but I mean, what do you do?
I mean, we can always just cut this off and make it into a fixed seat.
We could.
That, I mean, it'll kind of take away from, you know, these folding up, but
Yeah. We,
there are ideas, you know, that we could talk about and whatnot, but
plenty to look at. I mean, the bracket itself that's on this picks the seat up like 5 inches off the floor itself. So, I mean, we got some room to drop it down if we wanted to go ahead and just actually like remove all of this, which we can. We can remove it. And I actually see a couple of ways that this might work. So we might be able to do it. So I don't want to take it out again. So I think we're just going to leave it sitting in here for now. And
I mean, it actually looks really nice in here.
it does. It actually looks like the truck's starting to turn into something.
Yeah, like, we just come up here and just look from the front. And then, obviously, we're going to have our bucket seats in the front.
Yeah, we're fixing to move those too, but I mean, not too shabby, you know what I mean?
No.
It's actually coming together, sort of. But I think what we can do, we'll just do away with the bracket completely and just kind of do our own thing so that the cable still works when you raise the bottom of the seat. Yeah, I think we can. I think we can make this work.
We definitely figure something out. And if anybody else has any ideas on, you know, a better way to approach it, just leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
You know, for anybody that has done something like this.
Yeah. So we could probably take we could utilize the factory bolt holes in the front and just build some sort of bracket that comes off and this still fits in. So what we might do is take a trip to the junkyard and look at a Suburban and maybe just take a look at how that's bolted in, and if we got to cut some stuff or get the back seat and then cut some stuff to still be able to use this. I think we got options, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a problem.
The only difference between this and an actual, like, seat for this truck, this one's just a lot more narrow.
It is a little narrower, yeah. So who knows? You know, we might still just go with a factory Suburban seat. If we got to, we got to, but it would be cool to have the matching rear seats to the front.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of sick, though.
It is. Just the fact there's a seat in here.
No. Well, now let's get the 2 captain seats in,
Yep.
or the bucket seats in.
That's the part I'm excited about, because I've had those for a while and I've never put them in here. So we'll get them put in there and see how she looks. you think of that?
Well, you know, we had some complications about this back seat, but we have came up with a game plan that might work.
A game plan. We were a little bit concerned for just a minute because I didn't know if we were going to be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we have definitely came up with a game plan, and it should, theoretically, it should work.
In theory. But I think what we're going to do away with this whole unit right here. I was a little bit concerned because I was worried about being able to still lean the seat forward if I wanted to, because the game plan is to put the amp wall and everything behind this back seat, because we're going to have a sound system in here and all that stuff. So we want somewhere that we can store all that looks good and clean. So I was worried about being able to do it, but if we take all this off, all we'll do is do away with that cable, and we'll just be able to actuate that by hand. And I think there's another cable toward the middle, but honestly, you still may be able to do all of this just at one time. So we'll take a look at that. We haven't done that yet, but we will, and we'll figure out kind of a workaround for all of it, so we'll be able to do that 100%. These front seats, they're going to be just a little bit different because it turns out they don't just bolt in place. They've got that little slot that they slide into on the new trucks. So we'll have to figure out something for that. We may just build a bracket that bolts to the floor right in front of those seats so that basically they go in just like they would in a regular truck. But we'll work that out. We'll figure it out. Mounting the back of them, that's going to be nothing. It's a nut and a bolt, and we'll put a good washer on it, you know, just like it so it's reinforced pretty much the same as when they did it from the factory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do want to use the factory square body seat belt still. So we'll do away with all of this. We're going to work this plastic probably the same way that we're doing our door panel pieces right now in the carbon fiber. So we'll work that so that we can fill this hole in and it doesn't have the place for that seat belt, so we can still use that. And these just bolt to the side of the seat. So I'll take the factory square body receiver for the seat belt and just bolt in its place. And it's going to be like this truck came with this stuff. You know what I mean?
It's going to be just about like a resto mod, but not at the same time.
It is. So we're going to come up with a way that we can disable the airbags and all that stuff, because, you know, we don't want the airbags going off for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that there's airbags in these seats.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
That could be a big problem.
We'll figure that out. I'll probably let the upholstery guy just remove those whenever we get them there. So that's not going to be a problem. But at least we have a game plan. We've got ideas for how we can get these seats fitted in this truck so they'll be there to stay, which we've got to do before we can do the carpet. But at least this little bit of time wasn't wasted. We fit these parts in here, so we've got kind of a game plan. But that being said, we're going to go back and check on our carbon parts. I don't know that they're cured enough to be able to sand, so we may just call it a day here. I may work on those. I do have to go to work tonight. I'll just take them with me and work on them at work.
Hey,
anyway,
take any free time you can.
It do be downtime, I got to say.
Yeah.
So I may take them with me and work on them tonight if they cure, and that way I can get here tomorrow and either put another coat on them or go ahead and clear coat them, one or the other. So I was hoping to get that done so that we would be able to put them together on Wednesday. We may not actually get to assemble them on the door panels like we had hoped, but we can still hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the whole issue is we didn't know how the carbon fiber itself was going to work out. We didn't know it was going to take this long, and, you know, it's a very, very tedious project to do.
It is. It's very tedious, and then all of a sudden, all the cold weather decided to move in, so that kind of messed with the whole curing process and all of that, so it may put us just a little bit behind. But at the end of the day, these parts will be finished. They will be at least sprayed with clear coat. We'll see what the final product is going to look like before it goes on these door panels, so no worries. May not see it on the door panels, but at least we'll see it finished.
But yeah, in the next video, they should be on.
They should
Hopefully.
be on. Should be on. If they're not on in this video, we'll find
Yeah.
out. But we're going to go take a look at those, figure out where we're at. And if we're spraying clear coat when we come back, you know they weren't cured yet.
These junks are gonna lay out like glass.
It's looking really, really good. And we only did 4 parts because we're running out of time. I got to go to work. And in order to be able to put anything on the door panels, we had to get the last coat of epoxy on tonight so I can clear coat it tomorrow, which means that Christmas evening, then we can put them on the door panels and put them in the truck.
Yeah, Christmas evening.
Christmas evening.
Day, not Christmas Eve, but the evening of Christmas Day.
Yeah, Christmas Day, the evening. Yeah. So that way we can still get the video out for you guys because I go back to work Thursday for my shift. So anyway, dude, the more we do to these things, I've said it like 3 times. You got to trust the process, and going through this, doing it for the first time, it's hard to trust the process.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
We probably need to put like a clip just of what it looked like with the first coat and everything to now, because dude, the difference is insane.
I'm telling you. And as many times we've said that, I think I'm going to drop a Trust the Process t-shirt. I think that's what we're going to do.
Trust the process and put like some carbon fiber in there.
Because that literally is the motto of this whole project. But dude, the flakes in there, now that they're under those 3 coats of resin, just look absolutely nuts. And I was telling you just a few minutes ago, basically whenever you talk to people and they're like, how did you get the paint to look so deep? This is how you do it. Like you do a few coats of clear, you sand it, you do a few more coats of clear on top of that, and you just build and build and build and build and build. And that's what we've done, because looking at it, I don't know if the camera does it justice, but looking at it under the resin here in person, it looks like there's just several layers of carbon. It looks like it is just so deep, and it adds just so much dimension. But it looks absolutely nuts. And I know that it's been a long process, and I know that it's kind of been a little bit stressful for me at least, but this was a great call to do to the Squarebody, because it's just going to be just a little touch, a little hint that, you know, because it's just really going to add to that interior.
And only that, I mean, doing these parts and then us having to do some more parts for the door panels and everything, and then future projects, dude, all this is going to be a breeze.
This is a great skill for us to learn, because over the last couple of weeks, we've laid fiberglass for the first time. Now we've laid down carbon fiber for the first time, which is essentially fiberglass. Believe me, my skin knows it because I've got fiber everywhere. But it's pretty much the same process. So for us to learn how to do fiberglass work and things like that is just going to be absolutely useful in the future. But that being said, I've got to leave for work in 20 minutes. We finished this up just in time, so we're going to call it a night tonight. But since we got this finished up, I'll be able to get here tomorrow, go ahead and give this stuff a final sand. It'll be sanded just like it was just before we did this last coat of epoxy, and then it will be wet sanded just like if we were going to paint a car, and then it will be getting automotive clear, which is going to be just that final touch to get it completely finished out and ready to go on those door panels, which are going to look absolutely nuts when we get them in the truck. Dude, when the interior comes together with the dash pad, the gauges, the seats, the carbon parts, all the new door panels, and the carpet, dude, it's going to be absolutely awesome. I'm super excited about it. We're getting really close to the end of this project. We got big news coming for you guys later as well. So anyway, that being said, it's time for me to head to work. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, guys, we managed to get the 3rd and final coat of epoxy on our carbon fiber parts, but unfortunately it's been like 36 hours, and these things are finally cured. I guess with the temperature and all of that, it never did warm up here, so it's been cold, so it took a little bit longer. So today is Wednesday. It is Christmas Day, which means that we are out of time to be able to sand these things and actually shoot them with a clear coat. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get these cleaned up. I'm gonna go ahead and get the holes drilled and everything to be able to mount them on the door panels. I am gonna go ahead and get them mounted so we can see them on the door panels for you guys. And then since we didn't make it to get it all done today, I'm just gonna wait until we get all the parts prepped, and then we'll sand them all down so I can mix up clear coat one time and clear them all at once and be done with that. So that being said, I've got some holes to drill in this. I've got to drill out the holes in the door panels a little bit, and that way we can get our riv nuts put in and everything so we can get them bolted on. So I'm going to do that now, get these cleaned up, these edges a little bit, and just kind of get them where we want them. I'm not going to get them perfect because, you know, we're gonna fix it all up and get it all right later on so that everything's uniform and fixed before clear coat. So clean it up a little bit. We'll get it on the door panels, get the door panels stuck in the truck. We're going to see how these look. Alrighty guys, so we got the rear door panel on and it looks really, really good. Obviously there's still some cleanup to do because that's just rough sanded. It's not polished up or anything like that. But honestly, the way that looks is absolutely amazing. Around this, there's a little bit of a gap because that carpet, when they did these and they put the carpet on it, it was obviously thicker, so it filled all that. So I think what we're gonna do is we're probably gonna take about an 1/8 inch piece of aluminum and just build something that fits in there perfect, and we'll powder coat it the white to match the suspension, so it'll kind of have a white border, but then you'll still have the purple and the carbon fiber and all of that so that it still gives us that look. But man, that is just absolutely amazing. In case y'all didn't catch it though, I did have a little bit of an issue, and whenever I went and installed the rib nuts, I pushed it just a little too much and I broke the little stud, the install tool. So not a big deal. I've got one of those ordered, but it's Christmas, so it's gonna be a couple days before it gets here. Again, no big deal because I am still waiting on some more rib nuts. I didn't have enough to do the door panels completely, so didn't have enough of those. Got those ordered, they're on the way. And I also ordered some black bolts instead of the silver ones that you saw me use. I had a bunch of these left over from when we did the glass or the plexiglass in the Chevelle. So I figured I would go ahead and use those, put it together, and just see how everything looked. And I really do like the silver bolts now because whenever you look at the carbon fiber in a certain way and it gives you that silver side of it or whatever, looks really, really good with those silver bolts. But I did go ahead and order some black ones just in case we didn't like it. So whenever they get here, we'll get some of those put in. We'll take a look. We'll see how it looks and all that stuff. And then we'll make a decision based on that. But overall, so far, I'm really, really, really happy with the way that these parts are turning out. And again, I know we didn't get to sand it down and clear coat it. We've still got a lot of cleanup to do to these because there's a lot of buildup on the back of them and stuff. And so that's causing a little bit of fitment issue, but no big deal. We'll address that. But I've decided that since we didn't actually get to clear coat these yesterday as planned and they didn't harden, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna go ahead and get all the rest of the parts done and to that final coat of epoxy so that I can pretty much just sand everything at one time, give it that final sand, and then mix up clear one time, spray it all one time, and I'll be completely done with these carbon fiber parts. But again, for this to be the very first time we've done anything like this, I'm very, very happy with the outcome. So I think that it's going to be just a huge improvement to the interior. I think it's going to give it kind of that modern look, but it's also going to be something that just isn't very common in these trucks. So I think it's really cool. I think it looks great. So between the door panels, the bottom door cards, and the trim piece across the dash pad, I think that it's just going to be a great tie-in. I think it's going to be a great finisher, something just to set off that interior, because by the time we get the seats done, we have the carbon fiber, the Starlight headliner, the speaker box, center console, and all that. It's going to be just absolutely nuts. So again, we've got a lot of work to do, but we're making serious progress, and I don't think it's not going to be long at all before this truck is completely finished and on the road. We've been working toward this for 3 years, so I'm super, super excited to be to this point, but I'm also ready to have it completely finished. But guys, with all that being said, that's unfortunately as far as we're going to get in this video. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching the videos. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out that one right there, because YouTube thinks that's going to be the absolute best thing for you to watch next. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything, because we've got a lot of content coming your way. We appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Deuces.